My name is Peter Ngo. I'm with Palo Networks. And today I'm going to be sharing how we approach cloud certification. Basically, we're going to be talking about our certification program, the challenges that we face, and then how we optimize our approach. So Palo Network is the global cybersecurity leader, basically both hardware and SaaS service. I started with Palo Network about 8 years ago. They basically brought me in to start the commercial cloud certification program. At that time, there was only 2 products with a SOC 2 Type 1. One was an internal product, and one was a company we acquired. And as of today, we have more than 22 products and more than 10 certification programs, including SOC 2, 5 different type of ISO, PCI DSS, BSI C5, which is a German standard, ISMAP for Japan, IRAP for Australia, and others. It's kind of hot. Basically, the cloud certification team composed of SME, subject matter expert. We also do project program management, and then we liaise with internal, external team, and then engagement with our external auditor. What are the benefits of cloud security compliance? So I'll start with basically the last one. Basically, is to optimize and enable sales. Before we achieve our SOC 2 Type 2 certification, every customer would ask us to fill out CSA, CIIQ. That's like foreign question. It takes anywhere between 3 weeks and a month for us to fill it out and get the information from various departments within the company. Once we achieve our SOC 2 Type 2 program, basically, it cut down to basically 1 day. We provide the certification, the report to them, and we move on. That kind of leads to the second point of competitive advantage. By having a SOC 2 Type 2 and other certification report, we're able to basically raise the bar for the smaller company and our competitor. Sometimes we're like the first one in a country like ISMAP. We're able to get our product in there and get it certified before like our competitor. The other one is also, I would say, regulatory compliance and geo-specific requirement. It seems like all the country want their own version of certification. For example, ISMAP. ISMAP is based on ISO 2701, but they expand the control to 1200 versus about 180. I'm sharing some of the growth within Palo Network in terms of our certification program. So basically, we're averaging 40% plus a year for various type of certification. SOC 2, BSI C5, IRAP. One of the things I want to mention is VPAD. This is an accessibility standard that US federal government and actually EU would require as part of our product. Basically, it's making sure that people with disability can use the product and the UI. It's going to be very important. Larger customers such as Microsoft, Adobe, requiring us to provide that report. HIPAA, GDPR, again, those are privacy-related certification, and we encompass those into our SOC 2. We have what we call a SOC 2 Plus certification, where we combine multiple compliance framework within one. Again, this just show the number of audits that we have a year. Basically, for 2024, we have 104 audits with 5 resources, including myself. We distribute more than 4,500 reports in 2023, and at least 23 of our products had one or more certification. What are common challenges of cloud security compliance? A lot of it is, the main one, corporate culture, budget, resource. We've been asked to do more with less resource. And then, of course, emerging tech and trend such as AI. We've been asked to complete ISO 42001 for AI by the end of this year. And then there's, of course, data and cybersecurity issue, regulatory changes. And again, what I mentioned before, the trend toward nationalism, each country, each geo, want their own certification. How do we manage our audits? So we actively work with various internal team, to make sure that controls are in place. It's not just for the audit, but to make sure that we have a high security posture for our products. We don't want to be, I won't name, but a certain security company that didn't really do their QA correctly. So that kind of goes in part to the security development lifecycle. We want to make sure there's proper approval, restriction, make sure there's segregation rules in place, and then, of course, the base vulnerability management, and then also we need to have penetration testing for our products. How do we respond to new certification framework? So we have 4 steps. Basically, we unpack the requirement for the new framework. We do internal gap analysis, and then we leverage any existing tool, any approach that we have for prior certification framework, and then we collaborate with internal partner and external partner to achieve the certification. All this is basically a 1-year cycle. My background in IT audit, and we did not want to, because we have so many certification frameworks, so we're trying to work with the team so that to leverage any evidence we get so that we do not basically audit them to death. How do we do that? We basically establish very good relationship across the company, and then we engage. The management is very engaged in terms of certification because, again, it's a go-to-market strategy that raise our revenue. Internally, we deal with product team. We deal with sales, we deal with legal and privacy. Again, our certification, a lot of them include privacy in there. InfoSec, they're key, they're monitoring our environment, IT, and then, of course, the external auditor. We partner with different area. Again, this is again, external auditor. We have our internal cert team, then we have the product team, and then we got the different org that we need to obtain the information for. Basically, the breakdown is, in terms of controls for our certification, is that the product team own about 37%, information security own about 32%, and then the support org own 31%. Our key audit partners are BDO. We leverage them as much as we can. And when we can, then, like, for example, ISMAP for Japan, we have to use a local auditing firm. And for that, we use Deloitte. I'm a little bit, how would I say, picky when I work with audit partner. I've seen all kind of quality of SOC 2 report. I work with different audit company that promised me, I can do your SOC 2 Type 2 in 2 weeks for $25,000, and I only need to talk to your team once. And so anyway, that doesn't work for me. You know, at the end of the day, it's the company brand and company reputation that we need to protect. How do we optimize our security compliance? Basically, and it's evolved over time. We work collaboratively with InfoSec to map compliance framework to their standard and policy. And basically, and it's called the Common Control Framework. We have 395 control within the CCF, and 100% of our SOC 2 controls are mapped to those InfoSec policy and standard. We have more than 10 compliance framework within the CCF, including NIST and others. We were able, and again, we've been asked by management to do more with less, and so how do we achieve that? So we evaluate our process, and we can see that a lot of controls are common control, what we call common control, controls that are covered by corporate and not product or InfoSec. So we're able to break it down, and we have quarterly control testing for those common control. And that basically reduced 50% our audit walkthroughs and evidence gathering. We save about 900 hours a year just by that method. Again, my background is IT audit, and when I work at HP, they have a very, they're more mature company, so they have a very methodical approach to audit. So basically, it's a 6 weeks audit cycle. One is prepping for, one they're doing actual audit, and then one they're following up, writing a report, and so on. And so basically, we took that approach into our certification framework, so that you know at any one time, one of us is working on 3 or 4 different type of audits at the same time. As part of do more with less, we explore automation and other tools to see what works. In our very early journey, we actually used a SAS GRC tool. What I found out that it was lacking in many ways. First of all, it's because we're a cybersecurity company, we don't allow access to our internal system. And so there's a lot, you know, even though SAS, they weren't able to get the link they need, and so a lot of it is a manual process. And then on top of that, they would send reminder email to control owner. Well, because they don't have access to our system, the email was coming from outside the Palo network, and people were treating that as phishing exercise, or they get pestered so much they just ignore the reminder. So we kind of went away with that. What we found out at work, and it seemed like, wow, now you know it's 2024 and you're still using Excel, but that's what we use to track our process and map any follow-up that we need to do. For evidence gathering, we use a dedicated repo to upload our evidence for our auditor. Again, as part of our exploration, we we investigate at least 6 different GRC tools. Again, I would say they promise a lot, but they did not deliver. And a lot of what they say they can do, we really have tools internally that we can leverage. And we're still working on that. Script API. We have internal tools that can do scanning, internal scanning, and let us know the vulnerability and all that, and provide us a dashboard. So we're working toward that end. So again, we've been investigating internal and external solution, but nothing so far. So the next step was process optimization. Again, beside the command control framework, we start combining different framework into one report. So right now, we have a SOC 2 Plus where we incorporate SOC 2, HIPAA security rule, and then also BSI C5 within the report. So again, it's streamlined. There's more testing done for C5, more detail. But by combining the report, we cut out a lot of time reviewing the different type of report and having to go back to the product team to get more evidence. Again, based on our process optimization, we're able, again, complete end-to-end SOC 2 audit between 6 and 8 weeks, where normal time it could be more than 3 months. The other thing that we found out that also helped with our audit is that we create a checklist with all the items that we know the auditors be looking for and the type of evidence we would need. And we would work with the product team ahead of time, prior to the audit, at least a month, and walk them through, this is what we'll be looking for, this is what you need to provide, and that helped with, I would say, getting everything in place. Again, the other one also that work is we create an annual audit plan, and we manage that, actively manage that to make sure that things are on track and nothing is behind. And with all that process optimization, we're able to save about 2,300 hours a year, and then there's going to be more for 2024. Program optimization, again, vendor management is under InfoSec, but we leverage our external auditor for various testing and compliance framework. And so we're able to do our ISO certification very easily because they can leverage the evidence they gather for our SOC 2 audit. Again, consolidated control framework also help because we can see the control, where it's mapped to, and how it relate to the different certification framework. Cross-pollination, basically, I cross-train the team so that they're able to take any certification framework without any issue. And then expand the partnership with the product team and InfoSec to make sure that we can implement tools, internal tools that can help us with our process. I'm running a little behind. So basically, this is our 2024 certification result. We save about more than 6,000 team hours by combining the audit. We able to reduce the engagement with the product team so they can do the real day job. given all that, we also had an increase in terms of numbers of cert that we have to do for our products. You know, it's across the board for us. And we're done all this with basically 5 resources. And thank you, everyone.